Hey, this is Russell Moore, and this is One Thing You Missed. I'm really sad today because last week I got an email message from Jarrid Wilson, pastor. He and I have corresponded back and forth a lot over the years, and he was asking to get together sometime. He was going to be in Nashville and wanted to get together and to talk about how maybe we could partner together on suicide prevention. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to talk about that. It's an issue that I'm concerned about. I knew he was concerned about. And then yesterday, when I was in meetings, I got the word that Jarrid himself had died by suicide. People have posted all sorts of images of kind of his final list of social media posts, which were about things like saying, just because you love Jesus doesn't mean suicidal thoughts go away. Those sorts of things. And so thinking about his wife, about his kids, and also just thinking about the fact that this keeps happening, and it keeps happening in terms of ministry. I was in a community maybe a couple months ago where there had been a pastor several years ago, a church planner. I had heard from him every once in a while, encouragement. We never met. And I said to someone there, well, hey, how's that church doing? Mentioned the church. And they said, well, the pastor went back to his hometown. He died by suicide. Said he felt as though he was a failure. I know he wasn't, but he felt that way. And then there was a scholar that I would read a lot. And he had reviewed one of my books for Books and Culture magazine years ago. And everything he wrote, I would read. And I hadn't seen anything from him in a while. And so I Googled it, and it came up and said that he had died by suicide. There's a great article at the Gospel Coalition talking about why we have this issue of pastors and suicide, and not just with pastors, but with all sorts of people. But I think maybe especially in ministry, because, as that article points out, there is such, on the one hand, a pressure to feel as though you're succeeding or failing on the basis of what people think about you, on the basis of these external things that are there, and because so often in ministry there can be a tendency to when you're going through a difficult time, to think that if I tell anybody about this, then they're going to conclude that I'm not qualified for ministry. When in reality, if you look at the people that God has used over the centuries, how many of them have been people who have faced depression, anxiety, sometimes really, really deep depression and anxiety. That doesn't mean that you're not qualified for ministry. That doesn't mean that you're broken. It means you're a human being. And I think that we need to do a better job communicating to one another. It's okay to be going through a time of difficulty, and we need to bear one another's burdens. There's not one thing shameful about that at all. I don't know all the story with Jarrid, but I just know he was in a lot of pain, a lot of agony, apparently, and there are a lot of people who are. And so, what I want to say to some of you who may watch this, who are going through a time of maybe really, really deep depression or other sorts of issues, that's not, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. And there are people who can minister to you. And I think for all of us, we really need to do a better job. And I'm speaking to myself. I wish now that rather than just getting that email from Jarrid and saying, yeah, let's talk when the time comes, James 4, the time never came. I didn't know that he was personally grappling with this at the moment, but I wish I had. And I wish that I had stopped what I was doing and talked to him right now, because now we can't have that conversation about working together on suicide prevention. That was one thing I missed. And so I'm just thinking about the people maybe in your life that need to hear a word of encouragement. I love you. I'm with you. We can get through this. It's Russell Moore. This is One Thing You Missed.